In case you didn't know, I love retro games, ninja games, and samurai games. And when you mix them all together, well, you get 1999's Ganryu, as well as Strider, Shinobi, Run Saber. Yeah, countless titles. But I did bring up Ganryu, and it finally has a sequel some 20 plus years later that's available now, and this game is amazing, and I think you guys should check it out. We're going to be talking about that and so much more in this review for Ganryu 2. This game's a doozy, and I think you'd love it. Let's go ahead and get into it.
This wasn't written with your comfort in mind. Nah. Made my decision, wasn't tough to decide. Nah. Me and my boys, we get it done every time. Gotta earn it, you can't just jump in the line. You'll get rushed to the side. I top my division, I've been building since I started. In the parking lot, I parked it. I came in while picking targets. My career cannot be tarnished. I'm a champion regardless. Celebrate, but this is a different kind of lucha party. We are not alike.
Before we kick this video off, I want to give a huge shout out to Just for Games for sending over a review copy of this game, as well as Visco for, allowing a sequel to be made to one of their, hits. Well, I guess saying hit is kind of taking liberties with that because it wasn't a smash hit when it originally came out in 1999, but it's still a great game nonetheless. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. They actually had the chance to play it, although admittedly there was a lot with the original Ganryu that was kind of dated when it came out. And if you're wondering about how the game played, it was truly an amalgamation of, say, Bionic Commando, Shinobi, and elevator action, along with Legend of Kage, which was something that honestly a lot of people probably were not expecting when it did come out. Back then. I mean, you look at games that came out around the same time as it, like Strider 2. It's just, there's a lot that just blew it out of the water, especially coming out in a time when that genre, the side-scrolling action game, especially side-scrolling ninja action game, was just not popular anymore. So it was a risk, and it didn't really pan out that well for them, and it wasn't ever a home port until 20-something years later, and we recently got the Dreamcast port, which is based off the Atomic Wave version, as well as Neo Geo port for being able to play on the original Neo Geo console. So that's a little backstory for you guys. But the new one's out, and the new one's pretty amazing. It's tough as nails. Like this game does not hold your fucking hand, but it's a great game nonetheless. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. We're going to talk about that and so much more in this review. But before we do all that, if you enjoy the content I put out, make sure you like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already, and ding the notification bell. And if you want to support further, we do have Patreon as well as channel memberships with links to everything in the description below, as well as there's physical copies of this game being made. So if you want to pick up a copy of that, which I think you really should, I'm going to talk about this more at the end of the video, but I really think you should pick up a copy of this game now physically, because I do think this is going to become a rare title. I'm going to talk more about that down the road. But yeah, all that being said, if you're ready, I'm ready. We're going to dive into this game, and I'm excited to share my thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and get into it. When it comes to the story of Ganryu 2, Hakuma Kojiro, it's a sequel to the 1999 Neo Geo original from Visco, following the defeat of Sasaki Kojiro by the hands of Miyamoto Musashi. It's set in the 17th century in a fantasy version of Japan on the island of Ganryujima. Musashi heads off to cleanse his soul by meditating and trying an alternate path in life with art, instead of, killing folks. And during his meditation, Musashi hears a voice that says to him, "Miyamoto Musashi, our fight is not over. I'm waiting for you to finish our fight once and for all. All of Japan will pay for your insult. I'm waiting for you, Miyamoto Musashi." Deciding to take up the blade once more, Musashi must travel across Japan to once again do battle with Kojiro and liberate Japan of his evil once and for all. Now, if you've played the original Ganryu, then you'll immediately notice how the sequel plays drastically different from the original, as the original title played more akin to Shinobi, as in Shinobi 1 mixed with Strider and elevator action, as well as Legend of Kage, while Ganryu 2 is much more of a Shinobi 3 and Shadow Dancer style of game, which is one of the inspirations for this title with this development. It focuses on you understanding your position on the battlefield along with your arsenal at your disposal, and what the best approach to defeating all the enemies on screen will be. Musashi can run, jump, double jump, slash his sword, throw kunai, wall jump, dash strike, and utilize kami, or which is this game's form of ninpo. You will need to master each of these moves, as the game will throw enemy after enemy at you in an almost ruthless way, as sometimes enemies will spawn in at random spots on the screen, forcing you to be a bit more cautious and strategic in how you approach combat. Running in blindly attacking is a surefire way of getting yourself killed, especially since you can't take many hits before Musashi dies, so pay attention to where enemies are in relation to you and decide in a moment if a sword swing, dash strike, or kunai is what is needed to progress forward. You can do a 3-hit sword combo when standing still, and can also do a dashing strike that not only clears out any enemy in front of you, but also knocks out any projectile thrown at you. If you double jump and press attack, then Musashi will perform a windmill slash that kills anything he touches. You can throw kunai in any of the 8 directions and can eventually get powered up spirit kunai. Just keep in mind that you have a limited number of kunais with a maximum of 99 that you can hold, so try and hold on to as many as you can because they help a lot when it comes to boss fights. Kami, or ninpo, comes in a variety of flavors, with you being able to use one as a screen nuke, health recovery, gain temporary invincibility, and one giving you an attack buff, which is useful against bosses. Gaining Kami is usually a level long affair, as it takes several Kami items to build up your Kami. Once it's filled, you can press in the right stick to activate your Kami. Although I would again save this for your boss fights, and honestly, unless you're really good at this style of a game, I'd say health recovery would be the thing that you want to use when you get to your boss fights. Otherwise, then invincibility or the screen nukes would be most beneficial. They're very hard to build up because it usually takes about the length of a stage to fill up your Kami gauge. There are 5 stages that you will be running through, and each one is fairly lengthy, consisting of 2 acts and 2 bosses. One of the stages will see you in an auto-scroller where you are tracing down a boss in a giant mech, and then that goes on to have you in a shmup style stage, which is pretty cool, if not random, but it's actually pretty cool. The controls for the shmup stage are fairly simple. You got your movements with your D-pad or directional stick, as well as being able to shoot and charge up a special beam, and you can press in the right stick and activate it. Very simple. It's not going to be anything hard like Gradius or Thunder Force, anything like that, but it's still a change up in pace. Graphically, Ganryu 2 is one of the most beautiful 2D games that I've played in some time, with so much going on. So Musashi looks incredible and stands out from the background with his green jacket and pinkish hakama, which, they're incredibly fluid with their animations for each of his movements. Enemies are impressive yet pale in comparison to Musashi, however, bosses are truly spectacular. As far as the soundtrack goes, it's cool, but it doesn't have anything that's truly remarkable, memorable, or that stands out, which is a shame because I would expect the music to match the visual, spectacle that we're getting. But honestly, I couldn't tell you a single track on this game that really stood out to me, so it is what it is. As far as downsides go, there's quite a few, if I'm being honest. The way enemies will randomly spawn in right in front of you, where you're walking, where you're jumping, and the like, it's pretty annoying. And then there's the difficulty spikes, which are relentless. If you make it to stage 4, then expect to be absolutely floored with how the game will not only be throwing insane amounts of enemies at you, all the while you will need to platform upwards while also avoiding projectiles and more. And this is just the beginning of the stage. Keep that in mind. Stage 4 is absolutely ridiculous. The platforming in general for this game can be problematic because of, how enemies will just spawn in and you aren't able to react in time, which will cost you your health and eventually lives. Another issue I would like to bring up is, again, with the platforming functionality of this game, is oftentimes you're going to have to make a lot of leaps of faith that can be completely detrimental. Like, case in point, in stage 2, when you're in the minecart area, there's a point where you have to jump from cart to cart, similar to how you would in Donkey Kong Country. And there are going to be a couple jumps that, you know, once the cart goes off the rail, you're going to jump and you have no indicator that you either should jump sooner, you should wait and jump, or not jump at all. And because of the way the game has not given you hints, you're just taking a leap of faith. Another instance is the fact that you can also pan the camera down if you just squat or just hold down on your directional pad or your thumbstick. No one really, you know, nothing in the game tells you you can do this, but it's really frustrating because when you squat, it'll take a couple seconds for it to kick in. And once it pans down, it still doesn't pan down enough for you to know if that's going to be like a death pit for you to jump into, or if there's spikes or any type of hazards. So you're going to be making a lot of blind jumps, and honestly, it can be really tiresome. But that's another one of the issues I want to bring up. I still have about 2 more to talk about. I also want to bring up the fact that there are many times in the game it ran poorly, that having instances of slowdown along with, you know, instances of frame drops from the smooth 60 frames per second down to 25 frames per second and below. It was weird how it would just the quality of the game would just go super choppy. Not to mention the audio issues. Like, there were issues where the audio would just pop in and out, and I was like, what the hell is going on? It was really, really weird. You know, this mostly occurred in stages 2 and 3. And, you know, it was quite jarring, and it messed up the often seamless flow of the gameplay. Another issue that I ran into was on stage 5, where the game would just glitch out in the animation musashi and cause his dashing animation to show on top of his walking and his jumping animations. I think the other thing too that I kind of feel is a downside is the way the controls are laid out. So your sword attack is mapped to your top action button or top face button. Your kunai is mapped to your left face button. Dash is set to your right face button. You can toggle your kami or magic, ninpo, with your top shoulder buttons. And your jump is set to your bottom face button, and this is all fine. Activation of your kami abilities is also activated by clicking in the right stick, and I don't have any issues with that. The issue I have, because the game does have a combo system in the sense of like utilizing sword attacks is very, very important. I do find that the sword attacks not being mapped to the left face button threw me off, and this is probably just a me thing, but it threw me off, and I really was wasting more kunai than I needed to, because one, a lot of enemies go down in one hit, similar to like Shinobi 3 and just Shinobi in general. So it was a bit of an adjustment for me to have to deal with that layout. And I wasn't able to really change the layout to my liking, and you can, but I when I figured out I could do that, I was already like at the end of the game. One thing I really want to say with the game's controls, which is adding on to what I'm talking about, is how the game doesn't really explain to you that, how it's supposed to be played. And as an old school gamer, I eventually got it by stage 2, that I need to be more tactile. And I was like, once it clicked in my head, like, okay, this is, Shadow Walker, Shadow Dancer, this is, Shinobi 3 style of gameplay, Legend of Kage style gameplay, I got it. But I think for those who don't have a history with retro games, this game is going to be incredibly punishing to them. It really does not hold your hand, and that's not a negative. That's just something I want to highlight, because I can see some people really being turned off by that. But hey, that's just something I want to bring up. Remap the controls to whatever's comfortable for you. Conserve as much of the kunai as you can, because you're gonna need that for bosses, and just understand you can't just run and slash, because you're gonna pay for that. But yeah, that's all the downsides. Honestly, I'm hoping with a patch, most of these issues like the frame rate, the slowdown, and the graphical glitches can be patched out. So you know, they're not game breaking, but they're still annoying nonetheless. So yeah. Wrapping everything up, Ganryu 2 is a game that you'll want to grab if you're looking for some old school 90s hardcore action and you don't mind sometimes unfair difficulty spike. Well, not sometimes, it's quite frequent, but you get what I mean. The further in you get. For all others, I would still recommend the game, although just understand that the game is, you know, it's fairly difficult. Ganryu 2 stands as a great game that just keeps upping the ante the further into the game that you get. And it never lets up, and that's definitely a welcome change to many of the games these days which hold your hands. But you know, that's kind of a case-by-case basis because some people enjoy it, some people won't. I personally I enjoyed the challenge. It was frustrating at a lot of points, but all in all, it's a good game and I highly recommend it. Is it perfect? No, it's got its technical issues. It's got some programming issues with how I hope they patch how the enemies spawn in, but it's still a good game nonetheless, and that's all I gotta say. So with that being said, that's the review for Ganryu 2. What do you guys think? Have you picked it up? Have you played it? What platform are you playing it on? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever your thoughts are, let's go ahead and get the conversation going in the comment section below. And if you want to take it further, we do have Discord as well as Guilded. Links for those are in the description below. If you want to pick up a physical copy of this game, because I know there's a physical copy being made, I will leave links for that down in the description below as well. And all that being said, which you should probably, in my opinion, I think you should go and pick up a physical copy of this game, because I do think this is going to be a rare title to try and get years down the road, because look at how rare Ganryu 1 was. So I'm just saying, you know, just a heads up. All that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already, and ding the notification bell. If you want to support the content that we do, if you like what we do as far as like the reviews, the podcasts, the reactions, you know, the gameplay videos, I do a lot here. One man army. If you want to support the content, head on over to patreon.com/Mekel Kasanova or become a channel member here on YouTube. Every little bit helps, and it all goes back into the production of the content that I put out. And all that being said, we got merch, Teespring, TeePublic. Go check those out as well. And yeah, hope you guys have a great aloha rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, be easy, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace. Mahalo for making it to the end of the video, and if you found anything of importance or substance that you gained from watching this, make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you sub to the channel and ding the notification bell. That way you stay up to date on all the content that you get from my channel, from podcasts, streams, reviews, impressions, reactions, and so much more. If you want to support what we do have channel memberships, we've got Patreon, we've got Subscribestar, as well as coffee, which I would love to be drinking some coffee right now, which I am. That's some good coffee. But anyway, we got all of that, and we also have merch on Teespring and TeePublic, so make sure you go check that out. And all that being said, I just hope to see you in the next video that I put out. So hey, see you around.